Scunthorpe United have lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon.
Love it.
Open wide for some soccer!
Good evening, everybody, and a happy new year. We are joined very quickly for a good preview of Halifax and to talk over the emptiness of no games for a while. But Lewis Walsh joins us, who is a massive Halifax fan, enjoying a resurgence of late, and are coming to ruin our party, if there is a party. How is everything your end, Lewis?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on.
No problem. And Tom is currently bedridden, quite literally, with corona, and won't be joining us on Monday. Tom, how are you feeling?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Fine, fair enough. I mean, I thought you were going to say you were feeling shit, but that's fine.
It's like a head cold.
Oh, I hate them. I'm terrible with them. I'm a proper stereotype. I can't sleep or anything if I've got a head cold. But I assume I'll get it at some point soon. I hope not very soon because we're going to prep Belfast. But, you know, I get to go watch Matt Green or something. Oh, no, he's been let go by Linfield.
Oh, dear.
Apparently, he was urinating in the street on their Facebook pages. But there we go. I mean, we've got more to talk about than that. We are back after... When was our last game?
Stockport away in the trophy.
Stockport away in the trophy. When was the last game that mattered?
The week before.
Yeah. So we are, we've been bereft, and our Christmases have surely been far better for it, of football. But Lewis, how is everything going at your end? How is Halifax?
It's gone really well, thank you. Had a really nice Christmas.
Great.
Obviously, it's disappointing to have the Boxing Day game called off. Obviously, you can't really do much about it, but yeah, in terms of Halifax, we're absolutely flying. It's as in terms of how we're playing on the pitch and as well as the general feeling about the club, it's probably the best I've ever known it in while I've been a supporter. So yeah, it's about going as good as you can get, if I'm being honest.
What is that down to? I'll be honest, when we've been looking at runners and riders, Halifax weren't necessarily thought of at any point, and you've kind of turned up. And you know, what is it? You're dispelling all the money clubs at the moment. What do you attribute the success to?
Well, I mean, I think everyone would have agreed if, in terms of not including Halifax amongst the kind of top teams in the division going into it. I think a lot of it is down to Pete Wild's management, plain and simple. You know, this is his third season now. In the last two, we'd just seen his side decimated by bigger clubs coming in for players. This season just gone, it was Jake Hyde, Neil Byrne, Jeff King and the likes that we've just lost. And yeah, we've just replaced them with players that you wouldn't necessarily consider top signings. You know, you look at signings like Jordan Slew, who, to be honest, I thought he wouldn't amount to much, and he's absolutely flying at the moment. So it's about his management, it's about the tactics. We're playing fantastic football again, and he's just managing to get the best out of players that necessarily haven't really kicked on anywhere else.
Tom, has anything sort of stood out for you in terms of Halifax? I know I've been speaking to a former Telegraph journalist who said he was when things were going lovely, we were quite keen on getting Billy Waters in. I'm sure we can't really necessarily persuade him now we're not first. But what sort of stood out for you?
Well, I was going to ask who is the top scorer, because there's sort of contrasting results that come up on the internet as to whether it's Billy Waters on 12 or Jordan Slew on 9.
It's Billy Waters on 12, really. And it's probably going to remain that way for a little bit while, to be honest. But yeah, Slew, as I said, he's absolutely on fire at the moment. But yeah, to answer your question, it is Waters. I understand he's got a family connection to Grimsby, though, hasn't he? I'm sure I saw something on Twitter about that.
Yeah, I think he's probably one of the Waters clan. I imagine. I assume someone's just clinged on to that. I've got to see whether or not that's true. But there's Joe Waters who used to play for us, and who was the other one, Tom? There was another one, wasn't there? Another Waters? He might be. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't help then if he is related to Joe Waters that he's our chairman's favourite player. So a failed bid is coming your way. How's Luke Summerfield doing? He was a bit of a damp squib here.
It's a bit of a mixed one, really. Last season, he was easily one of our best players. This season, though, he got a knee injury quite early on. We thought it was quite bad to the point that it was looking like he might have had to retire early from it. But he's come back, and to be honest, he's still all right. But he's just not found his way back into the squad, really. And to be honest, I'm not surprised because you've got two very good midfielders starting over in Kieran Spence and Kieran Green. And to be honest, when he's come on in games, he's just looking like he's a shadow of the player he once was. He looks like his legs have gone. So it's really a tale of two seasons with him, unfortunately.
It's I guess he's an experienced head though, at least. And I mean, how has the team been sort of running? Have you had any sort of run-ins with COVID yet? You've got a relatively small squad. I mean, ours is huge compared to most down here. But how is everything going injury-wise and fitness-wise?
We've been surprisingly lucky in that regard. I mean, I'm probably going to jinx it now, but we've had no run-ins with COVID. We've not had any real injury crises, which would probably decimate us because, as you say, we've got quite a small squad. No, the only real injury we've had to contend with is Jay Ben, who picked up a pretty nasty injury a couple of games in. But then and we thought, okay, here we go again. But Tyrell Warren's coming at that right back slot and he's absolutely flying there. And then the only real other injury we've had was Summerfield. So no, we've been quite lucky in that regard this season.
Tom, is there anything you want to ask while I fix my son's headphones?
Did you beat Bradford Park Avenue in the trophy after it went to 3-3?
Yeah, we managed to beat him on penalties in the end. I mean, to be honest, it's a bit of a shambles that we even got to that position, really. The Bradford Park Avenue had 3 shots on goal and they scored all 3. So you'd be accused, you wouldn't blame anyone for thinking we'd try to throw that game. And to be honest, that's probably a bit of a general pattern we've discovered this season, that we absolutely thrive in positions where we're the underdogs. So games where we played Stockport, Southend, when people thought they might do something this season. But if you go into a game where we're the massive favourites, we struggle for some reason. You know, we played Pontefract in the FA Cup, only just got past them. Lost to Kidderminster in the FA Cup, as you did as well. And Bradford Park Avenue, Bradford Park Avenue, we only just got past them as well. So it is a bit of a pattern that where for some reason, if we go into games as that favourite, we just struggle for some reason.
And do you think going into this game, given the size of the two clubs, the fact that you've got the 3rd best defence, the 9th best attack, and you're 2nd in the league, you are the favourite going into this game?
I'd make us slight favourites, but I think Wild will still go in with that sort of underdog mentality, in the sense that you've probably got a bigger budget than us. So it's not going to be a game where being favourites works against us, to be honest. So I think we'll make a good go of it.
Halifax full-time these days?
Yes. We were part-time up until 2018, which we then switched to a hybrid model, which kind of helped us in a bit, but then we needed to make that full-time move. And from 2020 onwards, we've been properly full-time.
Good timing to go full-time, that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you just look at this league, don't it? Compared to maybe, 7 years ago even, there was a lot of teams part-time, and nowadays you can count them on one hand.
Yeah.
It is not useful, I'll be honest. I would much prefer there to be 3 full-time teams and the rest of you part-time. But we're not having it that way. I mean, in terms of Halifax, I've got to ask. There's been a number of rumours in terms around our away allocation when we were going to Halifax. Is that something that is a consistent problem for you when it comes to clubs like Stockport, or is it just something to do with town?
I think it is probably. I think it's a little bit of a mixture, to be honest. It's the first time we've had restrictions like that. There was a little bit of trouble after we played Wrexham this season, and I think West Yorkshire Police kind of had a little bit of an overreaction to that, and thought, okay, we can't handle any more than what Wrexham brought, which was that 1,200 which is what you're limited to now. But so I think it is just a new thing that's kind of plagued us this season. Granted, for the replay, I've seen you have been allocated a few more, so hopefully you are able to bring some.
The initial the rumours were initially we were given 400 tickets for the game.
No,
which was mad.
There's no chance we would have offered only 400. Surely, I mean that's the first I've heard of it. That's all.
I'll send you it so you can have a look. But a number of them that I would trust who said 400, and the club had to go back and forth. I don't know if the club have actually put something out on that, Tom, but I'll have to double check it. But I
find it surprising that West Yorkshire Police would find it difficult to deal with 2,000 fans when they've got Leeds, Huddersfield, and Bradford City.
Yeah, that's the point that's been brought up in our circles, really. I mean, we don't understand why we seem to be policed differently to those sorts of clubs. So, I mean, the general feeling of Halifax fans is that it's as much of a farce as you think it is. Yeah,
it's a biscuit thing. I think it is. You imagine Huddersfield and stuff have got far better facilities for the coppers to sit and waste their overtime in, so they'd prefer to be there than down at the Shea, which is a shame because I love the Shea. I think if we had to swap Blundell Park for a ground in non-league, the Shea would be the one that I would go for. What about you, Tom? You raised your eyebrows there. I like it.
I definitely would swap it for the Shea.
Which would you, in non-league, who would you swap it for?
In non-league?
Yeah, that was the provision. Decent big terrace.
I have to think now. In non-league, I'd probably go for Wrexham.
Oh yeah, a three-sided ground.
No,
well, I'd renovate that massive terrace behind the goal. Which
but this is hypothetical. You take the ground as it is. You can't just say, "Oh, I do this, I do that."
Well, I'd still take Wrexham's ground over Halifax.
I like throwing out random ones. I mean, Lewis, is there anybody we've got to look out for apart from everybody, considering you're second?
Well, I mean, I think it's easy to look at Billy Waters and see he's scoring a lot of goals, but I think for me the key man is Matty Warburton because he's just that creative link that brings the side together. I mean, there's been games where he's been subbed off and all of a sudden we just lose that little bit of spark and we just have to go to rearguard action. So I think if you were, not that you should be trying to take someone out of the game from the word go, but if you wanted to kind of neutralise this, I think you'd have to look at Matty Warburton as that player.
And I guess in terms of style of play, I don't know if you've covered this already, Tom, but what are we expecting? Fast flowing or shithousery from the 5th minute in after you score a set piece? What can we expect?
You asking me or Tom?
No, you. Yeah.
It's just because you said Tom, I think.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't know if it had been while I was away. It's usually a question he likes to ask.
So I think it's in the previous couple of seasons, it might have been a little bit of rough and tumble football, but nowadays it's fast flowing. I mean, some of the goals we've scored this season, if Man City would have scored them, there'd have been a 2-hour documentary on Sky Sports about it. So I think you can expect some pretty good football from us, I'd say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Walters came back and says, "Why is nobody picking Chesterfield's ground?" I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just a bit too
to be honest, I was just going to say actually, if you'd asked me, I probably would swap ours for Chesterfield's because ours is a little bit too big for us. I'll say that, but Chesterfield's would probably be a little bit more appropriate for us capacity wise. So yeah.
it's just too clean and sterile. And
Yeah, I mean,
I
I'm
don't
not
want
a
to play in
fan of
Tesco.
new. Yeah, I'm not a fan of new grounds on the whole, but I don't mind Chesterfields, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's a question for others. Tom, is there anything else you want to ask Lewis before we get on to the real debate, which is apparently a badge?
Just going back to the trophy, is that a priority as former winners for Halifax Town this season?
Seeing as we beat you, I don't think it's a priority for us
Oh,
anymore.
what a bunch of sellouts. Cut him off.
Yeah. No, it's not a priority for us anymore. I think people might have a different view, but in terms from a fan's point of view, it's not a priority for us. I mean, I would have been happy for us to lose to Bradford Park Avenue, to be honest. We've had our day out at Wembley, and yeah, I'm happy.
That was a dig. That was a dig. I mean, in our defense, everybody was hungover.
I was gonna say you played like you were hungover at times, but we're just happy to win at Wembley.
It was a weird game though, because our end didn't feel like an away end. There was some random fans sort of interspersed between people. But Tom has. I mean, I just remember drinking champagne down Wembley Way, which was quite nice. I assume the players were doing the same, given the performance.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one, isn't it? Like you already had your big day out at Wembley the week before, so it was just kind of a bit of a mick take, really, getting to go down again. I mean, imagine some people would have woken up that day thinking, "Oh, I can't be bothered going to Wembley today."
Yeah, unfortunately, it was the midfield. But Lewis, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoy it, and hopefully see you at one of the games very soon. And good luck for the rest of the season, of course, apart from Monday.
Yeah, it's my pleasure coming on. Obviously, good luck to you after Monday. So yeah, fingers crossed it. May the best team win. That's all I'll say.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, mate. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Tom, we've got a new badge.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? There are some concerns about it. There's some conversations about it.
I think I think the best point that's been flagged up was by M180 petrol station on the Twattersphere, and he highlighted the fact that as founder members of Fair Game, clubs sort of adhere to a what do you want to call it, a sort of list of values or whatever, where there's a consultation process on any changes to the club badge. The only thing I will just say to that is that the club badge hasn't fundamentally been changed from its original design. We've just added a little flag in, really, with the club's founding year on it, which it always sort of baffled me as to why we didn't have the founding year on it in the first place. And as someone who is expecting in the next few months, I do like the idea of having a flag, because I'm sure anyone who's been through having a child, they're probably thinking, I need to plant the flagpole first. So the fact that we now have one on the badge kind of relates into that for me.
I would have preferred.
My other criticism would be: is that where a flag would be on a trawler, right in the middle? Probably not. So maybe a bit more research could have gone into that side of it as well.
It is at most. It would have been an annoyance during voyages. Like, why is this flagpole in the middle of the operating floor? Our load capacity is now reduced because we don't have a full bay door.
I mean, presumably trawlers had flags on them, but where did? Because
they'd be on the mast, wouldn't they?
Oh, I don't know, because
you're a man of Portsmouth now. You should know. Look out the window. How many? Where are they?
Yeah, but they're not the same as trawlers, are they?
Sorry,
there's a lot of gear on a trawler for getting the nets up and hauling the load in and all that lot of the catching, rather.
Where? Badgegate, Mike McMahon has said he's currently looking after his kid I can't. Sorry, that's really patronising. Dads don't look after kids; they have their kids. It's like you babysit. No, it's my child. And I just fell for it again. Ollie Hodson says, "What's it like to own the second most controversial flag of the season now?" I mean, I'll be honest; it's taken the wind out of my sails, proverbially, at least. I mean, maybe we should just now get a flag that says that, so we can at least try and one up it. I don't know. Maybe if we got the badge on a flag, would that make it? Would that be like flag controversially squared? Like if we maybe add that badge now to our flag, would that sort of like be, controversy cubed?
I mean, will it be on the replica shirts from now until the end of the season, or is that going to be a new thing?
That's a good point. And I mean,
or even the first team players shirts. The furore that it is brought up is, well, it's amused me more than anything, because it just seems like we're just a bunch of fans that all we want to do actually is moan. Maybe the club have done this as a sort of smokescreen, a Tory style smokescreen, which would be very apt now that Grimsby's decided to join the rest of Lincolnshire and become a Tory hotspot, to basically sort of cover up everything that's going on the field, which isn't going very well. There's probably going to be a couple of signings that are going to sneak in that no one's going to notice, because
what's going to happen?
Enraged by the new badge.
Bogle has gone somewhere else. And so they've tried to dispel it by putting out this badge. I mean, I don't mind it. I've got to admit, my initial reaction was I didn't like it, but I don't like change. I can see exactly why they've done it, though. And you got to feel sorry for Rich Lyons, who did it. Town fan, is a designer with Apple. And he's obviously, he's got his dream job of being able to do something with a badge, and everyone's doing is slating it.
And also, he did that big explanation on the official site, didn't he? Which, if there's any kids there at the minute who are doing design technology at school and are wondering why they have to do 4 million designs to make like an egg cup or something out of some plastic, there's your answer. It's a process.
Yeah, and I mean, you can kind of, I don't think people are bothered by the. I can't believe we're fucking talking about it, but I don't think people are bothered about the flag being added. I would have potentially added it to the boat, like where the name was instead, like 1878 along the hull sort of thing.
Ooh, controversial.
I know. Could you imagine?
Is it big enough though? That's the thing.
Well, I'm sure it'd have been fine. I think you could have taken this exact size font and moved it down onto the hull.
I mean, what would have been better is what's the owners group called? It's like 1878 Partners or whatever. If they'd have done 1878. If they'd have done that alongside the hull of the boat, as in just like the Ross Tiger, because that would have been controversial. Yeah, we'll put. I
would have liked them to
put our commercial stamp on the sacred badge. I quite enjoyed the fallout of that.
Do you think that's why they didn't put it on the boat? It's the idea that this is now our vessel. Like if we put 1878 on the, I wonder if that conversation.
And then at one end they could have put hashtag greater together.
Yeah, exactly.
Ideally, at the opposite end. So I'd say normally when you do a boat sinking, you sort of go like that, don't you? So the front end is going down last. So you'd have the greater together at that end. So when it's sinking, it just gradually goes.
You made this comment earlier. You want sort of the animation in there, and I showed you the one that Larn has.
Bobs along. With the advent of new technology sort of gifts, maybe we should have an interactive badge where, for example, when we're doing really well, the trawler is flying along across the North Sea on a settled North Sea, and then if things aren't going so well, a bit like the Laughing Mariners, different faces, it's maybe just sort of bobbing along like that. And then if we're doing really badly, it's a gradual. And then
you want it Titanic style with the bow, the stern up in the air. Kate and Jack are hanging on for dear life at the end.
Maybe they could work on that for the official website, where for the post-match report, it sort of comes up in the middle of your screen, so you can decide whether or not you want to read the match report, judging on how the club badge is actually displaying.
Speaking of flags, then, do you think we should have these 3 different designs we've just spoken about? You know, like how the Royal, like at Buckingham Palace, you can denote whether the Queen's home, and sort of like if the flag is upside down, it's a sign of distress. Do we think we should have these badges to sort of display sort of what the mood within the club is currently at the moment? So if it is with the stern up in the air, I don't know, Stephen Payne's come back for his bag and laid out 3 members of the coaching staff. And if all is good.
I think it would be amusing for some of us, but it would probably enrage about 80% of our fan base. So it'd probably be a bad business decision from the board. But I'm sure the people who contribute to this podcast would get a fair bit of amusement from it.
Do you think they dropped the ball a little bit by not, or do you think they consulted on it? It doesn't sound like Jason and Andrew to not and Debbie not to think about this stuff.
My honest opinion is I don't really care.
I know you don't.
It's like I said earlier, the design of the badge fundamentally hasn't changed. They've just literally plonked a flagpole at the top middle bit
they got
of
rid
it,
of the
which
pinnacle.
says 1878. I'm like, I mean, has the flag been deconstructed yet? I mean, that is quite funny, it has to be said.
Would you like instead of the 1878 flag, should it be a Newport County flag on top of the boat?
I mean, that could be one for sort of if we have like major defeats, they could do that as a little sort of joke.
Just
take
the
over
the ship and
raising their flag on the badge.
But yeah, absolutely. Ollie Hodson says it's a perfect place to Photoshop any Fenty out. We don't need to anymore, Ollie. He's gone. He's no longer here. And we've, it's nearly a year in which it is an anniversary in which we can celebrate it. Cy Hodson says, is the designer still at primary school? I don't think that's fair. Rich does work for Apple and has helped design software and such. He's a professional. I think even if they'd just come back out and said, look, we've neatened up the badge, we've made it geometrically symmetrical, I think that'd have been great. I don't know. I've got a child.
I think the only place who've dropped the ball is where we said, which was highlighted by M180 petrol station or service station, whatever he calls himself, or Shim, for any Norsemen fans out there.
Told you we need Norse stuff on, on the badge.
It doesn't fall in line with the fair game principles as such, which probably puts them in a slightly difficult position, but only if you really truly believe that the badge has been completely changed in a fundamental way, which I don't. I think it's basically the same badge.
I agree, and I mean, I don't see any difference to what they've done there to when they've put like the 1878, 2000 and whatever it was, 2018, like I don't know what you'd call it, like a laurel or like a scroll at the bottom of the badge. When they had Seba Geige around the bottom of the badge as well, those sort of changes have changed. Not to mention, I mean, we made a point of it at one point, like how many different style badges are on the front of the stadium. Like there are 3 or 4 different fonts.
I don't know if you read Rich Lyons' thing, but he mentioned that in his sort of explanation as to how they came up with the badge. So yeah, it's going to be water under the bridge in a couple of weeks. When we've lost a couple more and we've only won 10 and 11 or whatever, and people have got smoke coming out of their ears.
Well, I mean, we have been very fortunate enough to be invited along, though sadly you can no longer come because you're diseased. To the game and we've got a chance. We'll be interviewing Jason and Andrew after the game. And I'll tell you something, we better bloody wing, because if not, that's going to be a hell of an awkward interview.
It's not going to be awkward, is it? Because there'll be plenty to talk about.
I'm wondering where they've both gone. They're in with Paul at the moment.
I mean, the other thing that they've improved as well is the website, which has been long overdue for a renovation. It's obviously been updated with a view to the more handheld sort of era.
75% apparently.
And but there's a couple of things. The club shop website is still absolutely naff.
I find that weird that wasn't done at the same time. Like,
yeah, and the at the minute when you click on view full table, it just takes you to the fixtures. So whoever does the website,
I mean, it's not the worst idea in the world at the moment.
If you are listening, that link is wrong.
Maybe that's just for the moment. When we get back into the playoffs, the link is reactivated. It's just to try and dispel some anger, just by going, look, this is what's to come. And I mean, speaking of fixtures,
we've had 2 moved. We should announce that.
We've had 2 moved.
Halifax away to the 11th of January, now 7:45, and Altrincham at home moved to 15th of Jan, 3 p.m.
We have got some tough fixtures to come, though. Like, how much worried should we be? He says in his perfect English, in terms of what to expect. Now, we've got Halifax next 2 games. Then you got Altrincham, Bromley, Wrexham, Wealdstone, Notts County. All of those games, aside from Wealdstone, are teams in the top 8 or 9. So tough ask, isn't it? For a team where at the moment we've got no McAtee, Lenny's ban was not overturned. He didn't get an extra game for that though, did he? I thought that's what happens when you lose an appeal.
Yeah, I thought that as well, but maybe they've counted that because he would have missed the trophy game.
I mean, yeah, true. I mean, there'll be some cynics out there they've gone, well, let's just give him back.
Or did he miss the trophy game? Was that the game he was sent off in? I can't remember now.
Does it matter? He says miserably. Maybe they just thought give him back a game early is actually a punishment. But I mean, we're going into the game without 2 strikers, Taylor and who else is there? Bell. Maguire drew a striker as well.
Yeah.
It's quite a tough ask, is it not?
It's a tough run of games on paper. I haven't followed the National League news closely enough to see how many of those teams have got players out because of COVID like us. I went to watch Boston the other day and Boston got hammered really by Brackley, but Boston had 5 key players out through COVID, not including just normal injuries. And I'm sure there are lots of... And then I went to watch Marine versus Bootle on Boxing Day.
You do say that like a Budleyan.
And Marine had 5 or 6 players out through COVID as well. So I think across all of football, as we've seen with the Premier League, like lots of teams have got players out with COVID. So I'm not expecting every team that we play over the next few weeks to be, including ourselves, to be at full strength, just because of the bizarre situation we find ourselves in as a society.
Do you think the season will get ended? Oh my God, what is wrong with my language skills today? Do you think the season will end?
I think it will end when it's supposed to end.
Okay. You don't think do you think this is going to blow over?
I don't know if it's going to blow over, but I think they're just going to carry on regardless.
Okay. And just see how it goes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, that's fair.
I mean, in the World Darts Championships, for example, at the minute, they've had 3 players drop out because of COVID, one of which was the equivalent of Man United dropping out of the Champions League, and they've just carried on. And I'm not saying that's like the benchmark, but I can't see them stopping football because of a few COVID positive tests now. I follow football in France and Spain, and they have basically said that they're going to continue over there. Obviously, Scotland have tried to take advantage of their winter break. I can't remember if Wales have suspended their season or not. They certainly went down to only having crowds of 50, and then I think the Welsh FA
the league.
made an announcement that they were going to suspend football because of the costs involved of teams, even in the Welsh Premier League, only being able to have crowds of 50, because that would basically be like all of their volunteers who help out. So they wouldn't be taking any money on the gate. So I think Welsh football might actually be suspended at the minute, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it'll be okay. I think we'll muddle through, but I mean, it might pull to our advantage. One of the things the club has is we've got quite a few players in the building, so it might come to ours. And hopefully, the players that have had COVID have sort of shaken it off and are feeling better. There's been concerns on other podcasts talking about the number of players that have taken up the vaccine. So you can't necessarily assume. I mean, it's in the low 60%, I think, in terms of professional football, of players taking up the vaccine.
I think the actual number of people taking up the vaccine in football is pretty similar to people in the general population.
I don't think that's true.
That's what they. I was listening to the Guardian Football Weekly, and
I was as well.
Jonathan, what's his face, said it was basically in line with the general population.
I'll have to dig it out then, because I thought, is it Philippe Auclair who was talking about it?
Yeah,
and said that it was like 65%, and it was obviously it's around sort of like an 80%, 85% take up in the UK in general. But obviously that doesn't include the generational differences, which are lower at the sort of the age the players are. But it'd be interesting to see, and hopefully those, if anybody hasn't had the vaccine at the club, I mean, it's not our duty to tell them to do so, but hopefully it'll give some people an option to do it, because there's a worry then if they haven't had it, they could be quite severely ill with it. But hopefully they're all good, and the squad is now well rested. They haven't played for like 6 months or whatever it's been.
No, but the training grounds have been shut as well, don't forget.
Well, it's not like they were learning much. I don't know when it was opened back up then. I'll have to find out. I didn't know it had been shut, if I'm being honest. I thought it was still up and at it. But can they not train elsewhere then?
Excuse me. From what I understand, they shut the training ground after the Bromley game was called off, and then judging from the tweet on radio, there we are, look back on the 28th, so they've been back a couple of days, 2-3 days.
Well, I mean, at least they're back in it then and going at it, but they're well rested.
They've had a week off.
They've had a bit of time off, and hopefully they're good to go, because we need everybody pulling, because the season could turn nasty pretty quickly at this rate.
No, I mean we're what are we, 8th? We're 11 points off top of the league. Okay, that's probably a bit of a stretch now, but we're still well in the hunt for the playoffs, which I think we all agreed was the target and the bare minimum really this season. And you can finish 7th now to make the playoffs, so in the top third of the league, which is, I think that would be. I think that would have been minimum anyway, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm slightly worried that given the current form and the fixtures we've got coming up, it is not outlandish to say that we will not get points between now and when was that game with the last one that we were talking about? I have no idea, and I've lost them all. But say, I would go older shot at home, 12th of February. It's not outlandish to say we lose all those games between now and then.
I think that's pretty outlandish. I mean, that's like 2000 and I mean that's a lot of losses on the trot.
We've had 4 losses on the trot, and then the one win we had was a very lackluster win against Southend, which is on a Southend team that are on fire.
I do think that's pretty outlandish.
Fair enough.
I'd be very surprised if we came away with 0 points between now and what was the date you said?
12th of February. So that would include games against Halifax home and away, Altrincham at home, Bromley at home, Wrexham away, Wealdstone at home, Notts County away.
Yeah, no, I don't think we'll come away with 0.
Maybe looking at
goals.
Altrincham. Oh, you've been
And
looking at Altrincham.
we're
probably.
also, I think we agreed like before the last podcast that, or not before, on the last podcast, that the games that we've played against like the top teams in the league, we've actually played quite well, and we've lost a game like on one team has stuck their chance away, and unfortunately, it hasn't been us on them occasions against Chesterfield and Notts County, for example. They're the ones that are jumping out in my mind. So it could quite easily go, if we continue that form against those teams, you quite easily go the other way for us in these games coming up, and that golden chance could fall to us, and we could stick it in. Obviously, it's difficult to say because we've not seen it. By the time the game comes around on what day is it? Monday.
Yeah.
Right, we won't have seen us play for nearly a month, so
It'll be all right. I mean, Tom, you don't like to disparage local clubs, but Scunny have dropped back into the relegation zone after their brief revival against bottom of the league, Oldham Athletic. They lost to 21st in the league, Carlisle, and our friends over at Iron Brew or whatever it was saying they've gone to shit. So at least we'll have a Lincolnshire derby to look forward to next season if things don't.
It's not a great period for Lincolnshire football, full stop at the minute, is it? Scunny aren't doing great, Lincoln aren't doing great. We're on a
and isn't that a
run.
shame?
Boston have dropped off a bit.
What are Boston doing? Boston are the only team in Lincolnshire. Boston and Gainsborough are the only ones I give a shit about.
They're down to about 8th or 9th now, Boston, and they got absolutely hammered against Brackley. Brackley were miles better. And Gainsborough, I think they're just sort of lower mid-table in their division.
Well, we send our loan players to Bridleton now instead of Boston. That can't help them.
Yeah, which is it's kind of odd, really, because Boston train in Doncaster way now, so it would be.
Do they really?
Presumably easier for. Maybe they just don't think those, because obviously Bridlington are a bit lower down, aren't they? So maybe it's because what's his face? Max Wright. He went to Scarborough, didn't he? At roughly the same level of as Bridlington, and just part of his development. So maybe they just sort of use that to. Cleetown are 4th. They had their biggest ever gate since the return to the Linden today.
Did they?
That's 600 good. And odd. It's not
That's
bad.
That's nice. And I hope people go down and give them the wherewithal, so it'll be well worth going to. I mean, it is a shame. Like, if the club as a region, like regionally, clubs tend to survive and going down as a region, really. Look at Yorkshire. They've had a little bit of a renaissance with Leeds and Huddersfield and Sheffield United at times, and we should do the same. It's just a shame that the mites of Scunthorpe and Lincoln are struggling in their leagues.
No, I think you're right. You do have to feed off each other.
Long may it continue. A bunch of fucking losers. But that's it, really. Is there anything else we've got to add? I mean, Halifax is coming up. I hope we'll play well. I don't really know what to expect. I'm looking forward to going back to Blundell Park. I haven't done that since fucking ages now.
Yeah, no, me neither. And I'm missing out because of bloody Corona.
I mean, if you didn't tell us, no one would have noticed. But you're doing the right thing. I mean, you can tell you're not a member of the Conservative cabinet. But I mean, anybody got anything else to add before we go? If not, that's great. We can always wrap up and go from there. I hope you enjoyed the quick preview. Did you enjoy your New Year without Town beleaguering it and ruining your Christmas?
Are we asking people to send in questions ahead of the pod?
Yeah, please do. Like, if you've got any questions for Jason and Andrew, please do send them. We will ask them as much as we can. We will ask them. I want to ask them about the women's team, what's going on with that. I want to ask them about the consultation period with the badge. I want to ask them if we lose, the question about Paul Hurst will have to come up. If there's any anything you want us to ask that won't make me feel so awkward, then please do send them in.
If you're going to ask about Paul Hurst, I think you're going to reach maximum awkwardness there, aren't you?
That's Jason's just messaged. He says, "Don't bother coming." Oh yeah, that was the other thing, wasn't it? I sent him a poo emoji as well, which I put into the group. Jason sent me a quick text message to say, "Look, would you guys like to come along? It'd be great to see you and have a chat because we want to be open during good times and bad times to have a talk." And I decided as I was talking, apparently, to send him a poo emoji, which he said was Freudian at least. I just really want Bogle, and I'll keep calling him shit until he does.
It was in my pocket.
Yeah. Well, who was that? Was it Tyrone Mings that sent that picture of the Mercedes SLK or something?
I think it was Jolien Lescott, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
Either way, funny.
Ollie Hodson has a good question. Any closer to a Barnet theme? No, I haven't. I mean, we will certainly put something out there. I'll send a tweet in a minute and ask people for their ideas. I think we should do one because it'd be nice if that's a stupid thing with that game that people do a theme. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. We go as coronavirus lateral flow test kits or something. Would be quite funny. Great. Tom, it's been a pleasure to see you. I hope you're feeling better, man.
Yeah, thanks. I am feeling better as the days go by. Good.
And we shall you've just made it public as well that you're having a child, which is brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So, no, we're not doing flags, but the flag will be.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
Shall we? It costs right, everybody. It costs £40. So that keep us shape badge flag, which will be at the game, unless Christine doesn't let me put it out there.
Gotta be flags at Barnet, on it.
Flags at Barnet. Shall we get a flag? I think it costs about 30 quid.
It's the theme.
It costs 30 to 40 quid to make a flag. So if you want a massive one that says 1878 in it, tell us you're sending a donation and we'll get it made and we'll have it ready for Barnet. But thank you very much for joining us, and we shall speak to you all very soon. Good stuff. Oh, I'm knackered. Right, speak to you in a bit. If it's a square footage, a normal size one should be £1. I'm confused. Okay, Ollie, thank you. And Dale says congratulations. Be Granddad Brian then.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Does Brian know?
He does.
Yeah. Good. Right, I'm going to turn this off. See you in a minute, guys. I'll talk to you in a second, Tom. Hang on, where is it? I've lost it.
Scunthorpe United have lost 4-0 at home to Exeter City this afternoon. Love it.